right in that one, Has. And the 8 board members of Teimun have worked extremely hard to organize this conference for you. And therefore, it's my pleasure and honor to introduce to you and give her a warm welcome, the chairwoman of Teimun 2010, Tessa from Sweden.
Dear delegates, distinguished staff, honorable speakers, guests and fellow board members. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to the 23rd edition of the European International Model United Nations. My name is Tessa van Swieten and I am the chair of the board of Teimun in 2010. I can imagine that fellow students or maybe friends have asked you why you are attending a conference in Holland during your holidays. To meet up with students you don't know, to talk about things that you cannot change. Well, even our sponsors and speakers might be wondering why 250 students from all over the world fly into The Hague to attend Teimun. As Hassan Servaz already said, Teimun is the oldest European International Model United Nations, and because of all the enthusiastic students, we were able to grow over the past 20 years. The growing interest for MUNs is the reason that Teimun still exists and was able to host a conference of this size. So what is it that makes MUNs so important? What is it that is so interesting in MUNs? Even though in real life we are not the ones making the decisions in international politics, we are influencing our future by participating in MUNs. We should realize that. Because we are expected to think actively about world problems, debate them, and negotiate with students who differ in opinion. Whenever I get back from a conference, like an MUN, I know more about the subjects we discussed than I would have learned by reading 100 books. And this awareness and knowledge that students gain from attending a conference will help them make better decisions in the future, when they are the ones making the decisions and determining the policies of their organizations and countries. Besides this knowledge, students also learn a lot from the process of decision making. We all know how important the coffee breaks and the lunches are for coming to agreements, and also how important it is to be friends with the ones who write the resolution. To push delegates a little further into the process of decision making, we attached a theme to this year's conference. The board has been thinking about problem solving and how we all come to solutions, and why problems always arise over and over again, the same problems. And that is why we came up with the theme Rise and Fall, challenging the ongoing processes of history. We thought it would be an appropriate time to talk about Rise and Fall, since we find ourselves in a stumbling financial system, and to stabilize the system or to rise again is not that hard, but to find a way to prevent it from happening again, to prevent us from making the same mistakes, can be quite hard. And that is why we added the line, challenging the ongoing process of history. In my opinion, history is our best source of information, and we should use it to analyze the causes of crises, mistakes, and in that way, only in that way, we can prevent it from happening again. This is not easy though. It is in fact extremely hard to really understand a situation when you have been actively involved or when you just climbed out of a mess. If we look back at clashes, mistakes or discontinuities, we often see that we interpret the history in a wrong way. And it is really interesting how our perception comes to existence and why we conclude that some approaches are better than others. I will give you a clear example. If we look at the approaches the Western world uses, we see little effect in problematic regions. The Western world is trying to develop developing countries, but we see little effect. Some people claim that it is because part of the money goes to corrupt governments. Others say it's because people in these countries are not willing to develop. And others say it's because rich people don't want other people to get rich. Personally, I don't think it has anything to do with bad intentions. The people of developed countries just don't take their own conditions under which their own country developed into consideration. I mean, did all developed countries develop under democracy? I don't think so. Did all developed countries develop under gender equality? No, I don't think so. So the historical fact is that developed countries did not develop on the basis of the policies and institutions that they recommend to or even force upon developing countries. The Western countries seem to have given themselves the right to tell others what to do or what is the right way. And that is, in my opinion, also the problem in the UN. We should not use the UN as a power to implement our ideas in non-Western member states. We should use the UN as a platform of exchange, as a platform of experience exchange. And as Ban Ki-moon stated, I want the UN to be a powerhouse of ideas, a platform for debating them, and a safe haven for honest exchanges. And by making the UN such a platform, and only such a platform, we will create possibilities for countries to implement the ideas, and only the ideas that they deem appropriate, with or without the help of the UN, of course. And that will provide efficient projects, and we will be able to improve the world as a whole. That we adjust the purpose of the UN and the role of Western countries is very much needed these days, in my opinion. I mean, the criticism on the UN is increasing exponentially, and if we do not act soon, countries will withdraw their financial contributions from these projects, and the belief in aid to development will disappear in the end. So delegates, the board challenges you to look at the problems that arose in the past and take your benefit from the analysis so that we can come up with fresh ideas and new solutions that will really change the future. In line with the theme, we will entertain a historical council this year. 22 delegates will be asked to solve problems of the Cold War. A very complex time, the Cold War. And in order to solve the topics, the historians will have to take into account the mentality of the citizens at that time, but also the world order and the means that were available. It demands the ability to analyze situations very thoroughly, and it requires a lot of knowledge about the Cold War. And I'm very excited to see how those delegates will perform. But that then holds true for all delegates, from the General Assembly, Economic and Social Council, International Court of Justice, Human Rights Council, North Atlantic Council, and of course the Security Council. So yes, to conclude this part of my speech, it will be a challenging week for all of you. But we all know that MUNs are not only about hard work, and we were also kind enough to think about some relaxing activities. So this year we will have the famous beach party again, the Orange Party, but we also organize some new stuff like a tour to Amsterdam, and we will entertain the famous stand-up comedians Boom Chicago this year at our closing ceremonies. And next to the social activities, we will have plenty of opportunity to know the fantastic city of The Hague. Its international character is totally implemented in our program. We will have excursions to the Red Cross, Peace Palace, International Court of Justice, International Criminal Court, and many more. But let us not get ahead of ourselves, and let us start enjoying these fantastic opening ceremonies with many interesting speakers and our Secretary General. Though, before I give the floor back to Hassan Servaz, I would like to take this opportunity to thank my fellow board members. They worked unbelievably hard, and for the past few months they put their social lives and studies on hold to make Teimun into a reality this year. So thank you so much for your effort, and I'm sure it will all be worth it when we look back at this week as a success. That being said, I would also like to express my gratitude to the staff members, of course. They came up with very interesting topics, they wrote fantastic background papers, and provided all documents related to the content. They handed in a whole week of vacation to be here to chair, to be here for the delegates, so thank you so much. And of course also our supporting organizations, sponsors and speakers, thank you so much. Without you, Teimun wouldn't have been able to organize such a conference. The only thing left to say for me is have fun, and let it be an unforgettable experience for all of you. Thank you for your time.